That's all right. Right. Yeah. Good. Yes. Forgot. Yeah. You got to spread out a little bit. I'm gonna call her.
He takes a lot of space with that tablet and things.
Yeah. But you gotta put tape on the table, just say, right? Cause a lot of problems. Used to remember the kids, we'd have a cereal box in front of us, so we didn't have to look at our siblings.
What?
Trace. Keep the cereal box in front of you, so you don't have to look at your siblings in the morning.
Yeah, you can throw it at them and you get rid of it.
That was my.
Like to call the Finance Committee of the whole meeting to order. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Weber,
Here.
Commissioner,
Here.
Commissioner Jazinski.
Here.
Commissioner Engler, Commissioner Marino,
Here.
Commissioner Slaney.
Here.
Commissioner Hope,
Here.
all present, Mr. Vice Chairman, except for Commissioner Engler.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Up next is approval of the agenda. We'll start with general public comments on agenda items only. We do have a presentation by Joseph Rivet of the State Land Bank Authority. Forward to that. We have no appointments to boards or commissions. Under committee reports, the Finance Committee, Committee of the Whole, we have 6 items of business that we'll walk through there. No intergovernmental affairs, no administrative controller issues, no unfinished business, no new business. We'll have general public comment again towards the end of the meeting, and then announcements and adjournment. So with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move, Marino.
Support Jelazinski.
Thank you. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have an agenda, and up next is general public comments on agenda items only. Nobody online? Okay, seeing no one for general public comment, we'll move right into our presentation. Mr. Rivet, it's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Happy to be here. As noted, I'm Joseph Rivet, Director of the State Land Bank Authority from Bay County, just over in Bay County, and was 16 years drain commissioner. So I know how you all, I know your life a little bit. So this is a sort of a one-on-one presentation. I'll zip through it and we can try and be more specific related to things you may have questions on. I woke up a little thing in my throat today, so it might be a shorter presentation, which is good for you, right? So here's our job. Our job is to take unproductive blighted property and make it productive again, put it back on the tax rolls to benefit the community, right? So that's what we do every day. And we have an extraordinary range of things that we do, from old schools to commercial to housing to even empty lots, orphan lots. We do all those kinds of things. So we have sites, a myriad of sites. In fact, I can sell you a docominium in Ascota today if you're interested in a dock in Ascota. I can sell you one of those. We have some of those in our inventory.
What's the price?
What's that? Well, we can talk after the meeting. So land banking is the practice of aggregating parcels of real estate for future development. That's that's what land banking is. But what a land bank is a quasi-governmental, right? We're an independent authority, but we're under the direction of government entities that repurposes, abandoned, foreclosed, vacant, blighted, and other properties. We take the property nobody else wants and try and make it productive again for the people of the state. We are not a financial institution. I can't tell you how many times we got to explain to people, we're not an actual financial bank. We just bank property. So the land bank was created in 2003 was the enabling statute. It was actually started in 2004. It took 3 pieces of legislation to do it. I can explain a little bit as we go along, but essentially the enabling legislation was passed. We also are exempt from property tax, so we had to amend the general property tax. And then we have some other opportunities in the statute that we had to do. We can do quiet title actions quite quickly. So we also, the Tax Reverted Clean Title Act had to be amended as well. So we've been in business 20 years statewide. And it was at the passage of Public Act 258 of 03 that did it. As an aside, I voted yes for it when I was in the legislature in 2003. So everybody did. Believe it or not, every single legislator, Senate and House, all voted yes. That we used to do that once in a while. Are we moving? Sorry. Oh, point here. Got it. What am I pointing at? So sorry. Sorry. Oh, and back to that. There it is. All right. So, just for your information, we have 51 county land banks. We're in talks with other counties, but the white areas are the ones that do not have land banks. I'm actually in conversations with Macomb County, and then we're having conversations with Northeast Michigan's interested actually in potentially doing a regional land bank, multiple counties, because they're too small to actually have enough capacity to do a land bank. And we're supported by the Michigan Land Bank Association. So there is a support network for all local land banks. We also have 3 municipal land banks now. We established 2 of them last year, Grand Rapids and Warren, plus the city of Detroit. City of Detroit is its own animal. So I just want to point that out. Everything they do is so different than everybody else. So I just mentioned that. So what can we do? We can acquire, we can basically do anything with a piece of property that is allowable under statute for private property, right? Hold, lease, secure, remediate, demolish. We can do all those things. We can convey easements. That's not a big deal. I mean, all property owners can do that. We can operate property and receive rental or sale proceeds. So if we get a piece of property in inventory, we can sell it. We can keep the money. Once in a while, we can rent property, and just if we got a piece of property that's blank and a construction company wants to, put a mobilization on it for a couple of months, we can rent it to them. That's basically when we talk about rent. It's stuff like that. It's not like we have an inventory of rental units across the state. Nothing like that. We can expedite quiet title, which is very helpful in a lot of circumstances where we can clear the title. We're exempt from all property tax, which is a value because we simply don't have resources to pay property tax. That's why we're exempted. And this is an important piece. All property in our inventory is TIF eligible. We can create tax increment finance districts on every single one of our pieces of property, which makes it an extraordinarily beneficial for economic development purposes. We just like to point this out. We're not a government agency, so we can't exercise eminent domain. We can't levy tax, and we can't build a casino. You guys are real familiar with casinos. In 03, the casinos were a major issue, so everything had a casino provision. We do not have a typical funding source, right? We don't levy a tax, and so we can generate. The law allows us to generate revenue in a few fashions. If we sell property, we get to keep the money, right? If we own the property we sell, we get to keep it for our operation moving forward. We can do some tax capture. So if we sell a piece of property and you build something on it, we can capture 50% of the growth in the taxation for 5 years. And we get a general fund contribution from the state of Michigan right now. We do a lot with grants, some philanthropic contributions. Flint, especially the Mott Foundation, is given them tens of millions of dollars, I think, over the years, and then we can generate revenues, through rent, leases, other means, so. We, each land bank operates independently, but our relationship is we have to approve an intergovernmental agreement between the state and the local land banks, which we do. Then you create a board, you act independently to best suit your community. But what we also do is send a lot of money through, and I'll mention that in a minute, to local land banks. And we provide all kinds of support. We can train and educate and provide all kinds of expertise in demolition, economic development projects across, we do all those kinds of things with our expertise on staff that support local land banks. This talks about some of our training, right? We can do one-on-one training for new boards. We can do demolition, how to use the 550 tax capture, housing, blight, all kinds of different, how to do tax increment finance support. We'll provide all this support for local land banks in terms of training. So we've had people doing this for over 20 years, so they can give you, since the very beginning, we've had people on our team. You can also, like most independent quasi-governmental entities, borrow money, you can apply for grants, manage properties under contracts, and the statute gives us the all-purpose, all other things necessary to complete the objectives of the act. So this is what we do a lot, right? We rehab houses, tear down buildings. We do some community gardens, right? We do quite a bit of property maintenance, get them ready to be transitioned to sale or disposition. So do all these kinds of things. I do want to mention that we don't just put a for sale sign out front of a piece of property. We call it disposition for a reason. We are uninterested in, speculators coming in, buying up 50 lots, sitting on it for a couple of years, nothing happens, they let it go back to tax reversion. So every time we dispose of a piece of property, we transfer a piece of property, there's a development purpose or a site plan approved or something. So we know that when that property is transitioned to a private owner, it's going to be a benefit to the community, not just, wild real estate speculation. So there's never for sale signs in front of our properties. Talk a little bit about transitioning into economic development. Because we can do tax increment financing, we're very closely married to the Brownfield Act to allow us, to generate tax increment financing, and that's both blighted and tax reverted statute definitions. So it's basically any property of ours is a brownfield, and therefore it's eligible for tax increment financing, right? So that's sort of how we maintain the definition and being able to generate funds. I had a question. Are parcels that are adjacent to land bank properties eligible to be captured, TIF eligible? And in fact, they are, if under certain circumstances, if it benefits the whole project. So, we can consider that as well. We can do all kinds of sort of amazing things with our TIF, including scattered site TIF.
That's pretty tricky, isn't it?
What's that?
Is that kind of tricky?
It can be tricky, but we keep up. We can figure things out. So I'll show you a project we're doing where we're doing scattered site TIF. So what we're doing at the state land bank now is transitioning from what original land banks were, which were tens of thousands of blighted properties in Flint. They tore them down, cleaned up the lot, sold them to the next door neighbor as a side lot, right? That was land bank 1.0. We've now transitioned into, we like to consider ourselves as a real partner in community development for communities across the state. So we're doing things like assembling and acquiring properties for economic development purposes. We have right of first refusal on foreclosed properties if it fits a development project. We remain tax exempt, so that's an attractive thing. If it's a multi-year process to put a plan together for a redevelopment process, not having that that tax exemption is actually quite a value. So as I said, quiet title action, we can expedite that. And then you know, we also like to think we address long-term community change through strategic process. And I'll show you just a couple projects we're working on to show you that. So we call this Land Banking 2.5. We help local units organize and we fill the role of the real estate entity that can help with economic development and everything from attract developers and show you how to use these tools to effectively do redevelopment. So some opportunities I just want to show you just to get your mind as to what we're doing. This is a partnership we just did with, we're doing this with the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy. They acquired 38 acres. 9 of them are environmentally impacted. So that's waterfront property right on Lake Michigan. And the Village of Alberta is financially strapped. And so we have a partnership with the Village of Alberta and the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy. We're going to redevelop these 9 acres. We're going to extend the Betsy Valley Trail for recreational purposes through this land. And we're also going to create an endowment to maintain public spaces in the Village of Alberta, right? So this is no one ever envisioned this for land banking, but we're starting to do these kinds of things. These 9 acres didn't meet the mission of the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy. So they came to us and said, can you redevelop this, support the community and enhance, you know, the overall effort? And so far, so good. We're having some very positive actions with the Conservancy and the village. You've heard of, we also try to get very creative. We have a lot of environmentally impacted properties across the state. It's a landfill. We have a big landfill in Macomb County that was abandoned, ends up with us. That's a piece of property in Downriver, Detroit. We have a solar developer interested in not putting solar panels on farm fields, put them on old landfills, right? And then the lower one is a significant project with a Dutch firm to do battery storage, just a big battery storage facility. So, you know, we're looking at utilizing properties in ways that can actually meet the ground, right? There's no way you're going to put a foundation in a little landfill. So, but we could maybe do solar on top of it, right? So we're trying to be creative and utilize our properties to generate tax revenue. And, you know, you put solar panels on a landfill, that's industrial tax, property tax, right? So you're gonna generate some revenue for the community. Just a couple of projects. We did a housing TIF in Newaygo. So this is a habitat partnership we had. The tax increment finance allowed us to put the street and utilities in. And then they were able to build houses, affordable, attainable houses, utilizing the tax capture to do the infrastructure improvements, right? So these are just a couple things we're working on. We just finished this. This is an old gravel pit in northern Oakland County that we ended up with. Oakland County property is a little more valuable. So this is a market rate development. We gave them the land. We partnered with a development finance process with the Oakland County Brownfield Authority. And they're building $3 million homes here. So on this was an old gravel pit, right? So here's another sort of picture of it. We don't forget our mission, which is to provide attainable housing and improve communities. And so as part of this deal, we required the developer to give the Oakland County Housing Commission $500,000 through the tax collection. So we're supporting attainable and affordable through this process as well. So that's what it looked like 2 years ago. Right now, there's $3 million homes around that tops. This is downtown Brighton. They needed housing units and they needed parking, desperately needed parking. So we're partnering with them to assemble the land. And when I talked about scattered site, they didn't have enough TIF capacity within the development area. So we're actually having other pieces of property that will be part of the assembly, even though it's scattered site, to make this work. And Brighton may actually build a new city hall with the tax increment financing we're doing on this project. So You can actually use the TIF money for environmental improvement, community improvement. And so we're looking at any and all those things to try and enhance the community. This is a attainable affordable housing process in Grand Rapids, and this is a community land trust, which means the land trust owns the property, the people own the houses, and that allows the housing costs not to go too high, right? The trust will own the land, so people can buy the house more affordably. They'll appreciate some value on it, but when they sell it, they don't own the ground under it. So you can always ensure that moving forward, it's attainable, affordable housing. So this is a project we're doing in Grand Rapids, 42 housing units. And it's just another sort of kind of thing that land banks can do. So what's it mean for you? I mean, you can do all these things. And I just added a couple other things. Phase 1, phase 2 environmentals can be done. Blight site preparation, acquisition, selling and conveyance. I mean, we act as an entity for real estate activities, but we do so with a community-centered focus, and we're always focused on trying to enhance not only the community, but the tax base for the communities that we do work in, because ultimately, you know, that's what we're supposed to do. I just wanted to mention this real quick. The legislature in 22 gave us $150 million in blight money to do blight elimination across the state. We're mostly through that process. The first couple rounds was competitive grants of 20 million. The second round was competitive, and if you had a land bank, you got an automatic $500,000. And then there was competitive on top of that. And so this shows where the money went. And as you know, we worked very hard to distribute the money all the way across the state. So we did get money up into Keweenaw, Ontonagon, and I think Mansalona County ended up with over $3 million, right? So, I mean, I noted Isabel and Midland have no money. They got no money out of this 150. With the infrastructure in place, we can support our local land banks. So, you know, it is, I mean, this decision, if you have a land bank, you have the ability to potentially access these kinds of funds moving forward. I just want to quickly summarize by saying we have 55 land banks across the state. We're one, 54 plus us. You have Detroit. Dozens of people work there, 10, 20, $30 million budget, right? They got 60,000 parcels in their inventory. Tens of thousands of abandoned buildings. So you have that. And then you have Bay County, where I'm at. They got four parcels in their inventory. All they have is the treasurer pirates some time to do work on those 4 or 5 properties. They've got a bunch of money from the feds. Dan Kildee was a big advocate of land banking. He sent some money to them. We're sending some money to them. And so what land banks are a tool for your community, and you can put it on the shelf, don't use it. Or if a project comes in that makes a lot of sense, take it off the shelf and use it. Or you can be Genesee County, you know, 50 people, tens of millions of dollars to their budget every year. They've torn down 10,000 houses. So that's the beauty of land banks, is that it's a tool and you can use as much or as little as possible. But if the infrastructure is in place, we can support you. And in the instance the legislature decides to provide some money, you have an entity that can receive it. So that was longer than you wanted. My apologies, but I'm happy to answer any.
If we went with land banks here in Isabella County, what would be the relationship with the city? I mean, I know they're really emphasizing affordable housing and so forth, but I mean, what's the relationship between the city and the county at a land
A
bank?
township,
Township.
Union Township got empty big box, right? Like that type of situation.
You are an independent authority. You would appoint who's on the authority board, right? So you can decide that relationship. Bay County, you know, and we have 2 city of Bay City officials on the authority board. We have a township board member on the authority board, and then the county members on the authority board and a general public, right? So if you want to incorporate a particular municipality or municipalities, you simply put them on your board. You can define that any way you want, right? Sometimes it's great, sometimes, you know, the relationships, what we find is problems with land banks, and I spent, as I said, 20 years in local government plus 10 years in state government. It's usually the political dynamic between local officials, not the land bank, that causes the grief and consternation. So, you know, if you go down to Southeast Michigan, people have bad ideas about the city of Detroit Land Bank. The city of Detroit Land Bank has powers that no other land bank in the state has, so you can't even really compare those apples to apples. But the city gave them all their blight enforcement and all kinds of other, you know, opportunities, and no other land bank in the state does those. So, you know, you can create your own, and then, you know, however you want to work it within your own community is possible. Northeast Michigan is talking about multi-county, and we're going through that right now, figuring out how each county would react to, you know, work with each other. It would be an intergovernmental agreement, but, you know, we haven't figured that out. But if, you know, you can define that as you set up your intergovernmental agreement.
We could do individual projects through the state land bank authority without having our own land bank.
Technically, yes. I mean, if there's no land bank, we act as your land bank. So that's possible. I mean, we have limited capacity, you know, and we don't know your community, right? So one of the things we talk about is, you know, we like the interaction between the city and the county. You know, if there's a specific project, we can come in and support it, and are happy to do that. We do that all over the state, but we also don't know your community, and you know, we do our best. So
Sounds like there's better opportunities for grants if you have your own land bank authority.
we've seen far more success with, you know, and it's a question of effort, right? Marquette County is a great example. Marquette County has a very strong land bank. They actually hired somebody to do their work for their land bank, and they've been very successful in getting projects identified, grants, housing activity. And so, you know, it just depends on the kind of what you put into it, right? So, but even if you don't want to, you know, there are small communities across the state, small land banks across the state are getting money to tear down that, you know, that blighted structure that's been an eyesore in their community for decades.
A couple of
Could
those.
you scroll back to the state map with the counties that actually are participating?
I can try and, oh, this way.
One
sorry.
of the first slides, I think.
Yeah, it's about halfway. That's the blight one. Let me just do this. Getting there, sorry, trying.
The reason I'm asking that question is, you know, Isabella County is mainly ag based.
Mhm.
But of course, I'm looking at the UP, and that's basically, you know, state land as well as a lot of timber harvesting up in that region.
You know,
We're talking about blight and that kind of stuff. What happens? And you're talking about, you know, development of the properties and different things like that. But what if there's no demand for something like that?
it sits on the shelf.
Just sits on the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, if you create a land bank, you're technically required to meet once a year and send us a one-page report.
Okay.
It would take your treasurer, you know, 20 minutes, right? And then do nothing. That's fine. But at Noggin, we just did, I mean, part of, at Noggin, we tore down this old school that was out on a country road that was just, you know, a problem. And then Gogebic, we're doing an old mine school. And, you know, Houghton, we're doing, you know, we're actually talking to Houghton about, they had a little Finlandia University got abandoned, right? So that now they got this, you know, and so, you know, we don't do a lot with them, but sometimes a need arises. And just Invest UP has just talked to us recently too about a potential regional land bank in eastern in the eastern UP. Invest UP is the economic development agency up there. And so we've had an initial meeting about maybe doing something in the eastern UP as well. So, we've talked to Chippewa County. I mean, like I said, every community is different. Macomb doesn't have a land bank, which is, there's a lot of, the board and the executive can't work together, right? So, that's what happened there. But they just did this. You've heard the Selfridge Air Force just got that fighter wing. All of a sudden they're like, hey, yeah, maybe we need a land bank because we got some development around Selfridge, right? And so it just sort of, you don't need it all the time, but there may be a time you might need it. So, it's completely up to you. We don't require it. We've had conversations with St. Joe County. They chose not to do it. But we do know it's a tool that you can potentially use to benefit your a project or your community. I mean, I'm sure if we drove through here, you could find a bunch of blighted structures in every county, every town has that, and this may be the tool to be able to address it.
More questions? Okay, well, thank you, sir.
My great pleasure.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Typical acquisition of these properties, and I also hear you talking a lot about like the state is in projects, so I'm a little confused of that relationship between the state and a local land bank. Are you assisting in that process with the local community, and how are they acquiring those lands?
A lot of property comes through foreclosure, and you're a foreclosing governmental unit here, so you qualify to do that. If we do a specific project in a community, we either own it. So we have a lot of properties like the abandoned landfills and environmental sites. Obviously, the community wants nothing to do with those. So when they established, and a great example, Oakland is relatively new land bank. We just transferred 95 properties to Oakland County, but there were 5 or 7 of them. They're like, no thanks, you can keep them. So that's the abandoned landfill we're talking about, or the battery storage facility. It's a terrible site that nobody else really wants. Their local land bank doesn't have the capacity to deal with. So sometimes it's that. Because of the process of us acquiring property through the state, we have property, I think, in every county. Orphaned little half slices of road, whatever. So we do overlap a little bit. The communities of those specific projects I mentioned, we talk to the local land bank and say, this is an opportunity. Would you like us to lead? And most of the times they say yes, because we just have a capacity that they don't have. So in Benzie County, they got a pretty good little land bank, but a $5 million development is outside their capacity. That waterfront development, they just weren't prepared for it. So same thing with, Wayne County. I mean, we talked to the Wayne County Land Bank and they're like, go crazy. We're happy to just support them. So we have that cooperative relationship. We work very hard to maintain that relationship with our local land banks.
And if those lands that are already foreclosed are primary means of acquisition, those lands are already off the tax roll.
Yeah, right.
So they're off the tax roll, they get the blighted structure on it. Isabella County's hope would be is at some point down the road, the state would spend more money or have more grant opportunities to remove blighted homes. Isabella County's land bank would then apply for grants of those sorts, obtain that money, demo those buildings, clean them up and get those sites prepped and ready for redevelopment and or back on the tax roll.
Sure. I mean, that's what we do. Yep. I mean, that's for the most part, that's correct. Right. I mean, there's always nuances, but yes, I mean, that's the ultimate goal and how we started, how the land banking started, right? With all those foreclosed. Remember, years ago, the state foreclosed on everything. So that's how our initial inventory, but we're about to get 130 pieces from the DNR of orphan and little, and then we do our best to dispose of it. All right, available anytime. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Okay. Next up is committee reports, Finance Committee, Committee of the Whole, and item 1. is consider ratifying and placing on file the May 2nd, 2025 invoice list in the amount of $470,519.01. The May 9th, 2025 invoice list in the amount of $370,790.12. And the adjustment list dated May 1st, 2025.
Okay, the first one is the May 2nd invoice list, total amount of $470,519.01. Out of that, the general fund portion is $261,626.44. The big bills that come out of this one was Advanced Benefit Solutions for the May 25 dental vision expense of $22,044.81. MRP Properties for the temporary admin building rent for June of $17,091.46. We have a couple third quarter appropriations, one to community mental health, $54,075. And third quarter appropriation to Middle Michigan Development of $11,395. Questions? If not, I'll go to the next one.
Sure.
Next one is the May 9th invoice list of $370,790.12. General fund portion of this is $58,455.25. Big ones out of this one is we have the state of Michigan of $14,564 for the April district and probate court transmittals. We have Spicer Group for solar plan review, $10,488. And then the miscellaneous direct supervised care for the child care fund, a couple of them to Pine Homes and one to McBride Quality Care.
Any questions there?
Okay, next one after this is the adjustments list. Out of this whole list we have, there are about 7 of them that were invoices had to be increased to fix errors or to match total on the bills. The rest of them were invoices added to avoid late fees or to get an early payment discount. There was a invoice added to proceeds from foreclosure from the treasurer for $94,056. And then the rest are just the routine DTE, Gordon Food Service for the discount.
Any questions there?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On the first invoice list, I noticed that it's Chase Morgan, which is a credit card. Seems
Yes.
like some departments use it more than others. I don't know if you could send me a copy of our credit card policy. I know when I was Parks and Recreation Director, the credit card route was not the preferred route to go to set up accounts.
Okay, we can send the policy out to the board.
And just get a little bit more understanding about it.
Okay.
Some departments use it more than others.
I mean, in the past, like, my first term, every few months, I just asked for like the total list of credit card charges, just to get a handle on what things were done. And, mostly, we're talking about supplies or getting, pizza for Commission on Aging and things like that, just to give you an idea that like I had reviewed it in the, I guess, the first term that I was here. I haven't gone back and done that, but it's all pretty common day-to-day type of things as well. Not that we don't need to see policy, but.
But I'll send the policy after the meeting to the board.
And if we would wish to look at the actual credit card bill to see what it's all about, we could ask for that.
And yes, just let me know in advance. We can make sure we have it available for you.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, we will move those items to next week's board meeting. And item number 2 is consider approving the fiscal year 26 Isabella County Community Corrections Plan application in the amount of $137,142.59. And we have Gary Curtis and Andrew Foster here with us.
Good morning. We're bringing forward our fiscal year 2026 Community Corrections Grant application. This particular grant requires board approval where we submit the minutes prior to us submitting the application to the state. So I just wanted to preface that a little bit before I leave it to Andy to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing.
All right, so this year's grant is much the same as last year's. We do a cognitive program called Thinking Matters. We're projected for 35 participants next year. Outpatient services, that's through TRICAP over in Saginaw. And we're asking for 7 participants in that, and that one's an expensive program to run. So that one's a big chunk of the funding goes to that one. Pretrial program, we have a pretrial assessment and pretrial supervision. And a lot of that is time spent and not so much contractual services, but time in the tethers and pretrial stuff like that. We're also asking again for the vehicle interlock for 3 offenders. And that's it. Any questions about the programming?
So I noticed that for domestic violence, well, also sex offender, but I was curious on, do we not have a program for domestic violence or not have a need here? I would assume that's the case, actually. If there's population, there's domestic violence.
We do have the need for it. We don't have the programming because we don't have a clinician to provide those services.
A lot of our offenders with domestic violence convictions, in fact, most all of them do get services within the community, such as counseling, victim impact panel, different kinds of therapy options. We just don't have an in-house program.
Okay, and so we don't have a program set up to support those community programs either? I mean, if we can pull in funding or proposal, I would bet that whatever we could provide, there would be a need.
A lot of them will fit into the Thinking Matters program. And they don't have to be felony offenders to take the Thinking Matters program. They just have to be felony offenders to get reimbursement for it. So if we're already running a group and there's a domestic violence person that needs to get in, we can have them jump into the group once the state's paying for the group rate. We can put other folks in it, and a lot of those sex offenders and domestic violence people will fit in there.
Right, and we're currently doing that for them as well, and there's no cost to the offender to participate in the Thinking Matters program.
That's a program that you've developed yourself, correct?
No, it was developed by a guy named Abe French. We did, some of the court staff has been to a training to get certified in administering the program. And yeah, it's not developed here or anything. It's a curriculum that was based for antisocial behavior defendants.
Okay. And then the placements that you send to the organization in Saginaw, what kind of services do they provide?
So TRICAP provides an opioid meth specific programming, and it's a 5-month long treatment with I think 336 sessions of counseling. Most of it's group, and once a week they meet individually with a counselor, and it's to address their opioid meth SUDs.
Sounds pretty intensive.
It is. We've had good success with it.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Curtis. Thank you, Mr. Foster.
Thank you.
We'll send that item to next week's board meeting, and item 3 is consider approving the American Rescue Plan Act Local Parks and Trails Michigan Spark Grant Agreement amendment between the Michigan Department of Natural Resources on behalf of the state of Michigan and Isabella County for the Herrick Recreation Area Development Project, ARPA-0174, and resolution number 2025-04, and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. And we have Director Hanson here this morning.
Good morning. So when a few months ago I came to the board to talk about our contract with Isabella Corp, I tried to give you a bit of a primer that this would be coming. I think I discussed at that point how there was a several year gap from the time of application for the grant to when we actually received bids and we're getting under contract with a vendor. So costs were a lot higher than anticipated. And when we moved forward with the contract with Isabella Corp, that was under a reduced scope compared to our original grant application, in order for us to stay as close as possible to the targeted project budget. So basically what the DNR wants to do is just document and memorialize the change of the scope that's been agreed upon between the county and the DNR. And then obviously the contractor is under contract for that scope already. So in November of 2023, the original grant agreement between the DNR, Michigan Department of Natural Resources, and Isabella County was signed and approved by the board. What they have done is sent just a one-page document that shows an amendment to the agreement with the reduced scope, and then they do need the resolution to support, documentation that it's been approved by our board. So just to give a recap on what the change in scope was, when we originally applied for the grant for this project, the goal was to do the renovations to the bathhouse, do renovations to the pit toilet at the campground as well, and then replace the playground equipment that is currently at Herrick Campground. After we got the budget or the bids back, during our bidding process, we realized that all of those things weren't going to fit into the budgeted amount. So we worked with the DNR to get as close to that amount as possible while still hitting the parameters that would make them allow us to continue with the project. And then we also felt it still added some value and made it worth our time to do the project. So what we did is we removed the pit toilet renovations and we removed the playground renovations, opting to focus all of the funding on renovating the bathhouse. And so that includes renovations to bring the shower and bathroom areas up to current ADA standards. It's redoing the roof and the siding at the on the exterior of the building, adding some ADA parking, and then replacing the existing concrete pathway with a new ADA pathway that actually connects the parking to the building as well. And then the steel exterior doors on the showers and bathhouse are going to be replaced. So if you look at basically to sum it up, if you look at the original agreement, you'll see the bathhouse, the pit toilet, and the playground as scope items. This amended agreement shows really just the bathhouse with that parking and access pathway. So we just need to kind of sign off so that both parties have a documented agreement to that new scope. And then we just submit it back to them, and then we can move forward with other aspects of the project management on the administration side of it.
Questions? I don't see any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And we will move that item to next week's agenda. Brings us down
that for a long time.
Brings us to item 4, consider approving the proposed building inspections fee adjustments, including a new fee effective June 1st, 2025 pursuant to PA 230 of 1972 and the Isabella County Construction Code Ordinance number 6-01 as listed and presented. And Director Neoport. Good morning.
Good morning.
I kind of want to walk through just a little bit of Fund 542 for the new commissioners who haven't probably seen much of this fund. So Fund 542 is our building inspections fund. The building inspections fund is an enterprise fund. It receives $0 from the general fund, so it's completely self-sufficient. As a matter of fact, it provides revenue to the general fund in the form of indirect costs. So we pay for some of our overhead out of these funds. So the fund was set up probably in about 2006, and the state law requires that the board establish the fee structure, what those fees shall be. Our ordinance, which I provided as part of the packet, which is 0601, I think it is. Basically states language right out of the state law, which I want to read. Number 3, it's in my staff report as well. It is. So number 3 in the fee structure, the ordinance 0601, it was establishing the Building Inspections Fund 542. Pursuant to Section 22(1) of Public Act 230 of 1972, the Isabella County Board of Commissioners shall establish reasonable fees to be charged for acts and services performed by the enforcing agency. The fees shall be intended to bear a reasonable relation to the costs and acts of services. The fees collected by the enforcing agency shall only be used for the operation of the enforcing agency and shall not be used for any other purpose. That's right out of state law. So basically, they're just telling us, challenging us to make sure that our fees that we establish are reasonable, make sure they cover our costs and that they don't go to any other locations. We do that. Over the last decade, we've had, I believe, 2 fee increases. I look at fees every year during budget time just to see where we're going to sit, where we're going to hit with regard to expenditures. A couple of things have hit us in the last decade. One of them is contracts that we have with other communities to provide service. So I got a full-time building inspector, building official. I have a full-time electrical inspector, and I have a full-time plumbing and mechanical inspector. Each of those have duties to do here in our county. And we've also picked up contracts with the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe to provide services, which is additional revenue to the fund. With no extra expense, well, minimal extra expense. We have picked up a contract with the city of Mount Pleasant for doing building inspection services. We have 3 contracts with townships in Clare County that abut us to the north, being Sheridan, Surrey, and Grant townships. And then we have a contract with Clare County. All of those contracts, we generate somewhere about $50,000 to $60,000 a year, comes into our fund, helps us keep our fees lower for the rest of our citizens and contractors who utilize the service. The other was part of these renewable projects. So when the wind project came through, it was quite a spike that year, obviously, in revenue for us. So we've been able to utilize that revenue to kind of run ourselves down without increasing fees over the years, been able to run ourselves down and keep our fees lower. We're getting to that point where we're at a tipping point. We need to, adjust our fees. We did so last in 21, and I think in 17 was the last time before that. And I think maybe 12 or 13 again. So we haven't been doing them on an annual basis because we haven't had the need. The fund balance currently sits right around $600,000 in the fund. Next year's budgeted expenditures were right around 700,000, and our revenue generation was proposed at right around 580 range. I'm sorry, no, right around 644, about $60,000 less than what we were going to bring in revenue is our expenditures. There's no places really to cut. If you cut an inspector, you lose the service, you lose the revenue that goes along with it, and actually it defeats the purpose. If you give the services up and you say, we're no longer going to provide these services here in Isabella County, they would revert down to the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan would take them over. State of Michigan's fee structure is higher than ours, so our citizens would pay more for the same permits.
and they would get lower services. I think their applications read 10 business days for an inspection. That's 2 weeks. We're at a 48 hour is what we sort of promise out. We cover most of ours in less than 24. We do the 48 when someone's at class, someone's sick. We've got a little leeway there. Most of our inspections are done pretty expeditiously. So what I've brought in front of you today is a few modifications. How the inspection applications work is they're really a la carte based on your, the work that you do. You put in so many circuits, you get charged, per circuit, so many dollars. And it's sort of an a la carte menu. So adding to that a la carte, making some changes, not overall to all fees, just these ones that I'm bringing in front of you today. The first one is adjust the plan review fee for residential building projects from $35 to $50. Currently, the state of Michigan has a $75 application fee. We've been at $35. We're looking to move to $50. We're still 2/3 of what the state of Michigan would charge and providing better services. We're looking to adjust the administrative fee, which is again, they call theirs their application fee at $75. We call it an administrative fee here. We're charging $25 currently. We're looking to move that to $50. We'd like to adjust the per inspection rate. We're currently charging $65 to $70. We're looking to add onto the electrical permit application a new section for solar panel fees at $2 per panel. Currently, we're charging solar panels. We're charging them by their KVA, by their motor capacity. And contractors are coming into the office going, I don't know what the motor capacity is. So they got to leave our office, go somewhere, go to some calculations and get it. It's a lot easier this way. State of Michigan is charging it this way. It's just a quicker process, I think, for our citizens to go, I got 30 panels, $2 a panel, it's $60. That's going to be my cost. So that would be a new added application, not a new fee. It would just be a different way of charging it, just a new item to choose for solar. The next two are new items on the application. The next one is a $50 fee charged for reopening a permit that has expired. The permit will expire on the expiration date and will remain expired for 30 days before closing. A closed permit will require a new permit application. Currently, permits are good for 6 months. You have to be making progress on them for them to stay active. We provide, currently they expire at the end of that 6 months and they just kind of close and they go away, and normally an applicant would have to come back in and reapply for a new permit. We've sort of, as a grace item over the years, established letters that we send out twice to them, once on the expiration date and then once 2 weeks later, asking for them to come in, let us know that they're still moving forward, and that we'll go ahead and reopen that from expired back to an active permit. Anything that's been over that 30 days that's closed out, they're pulling a new permit. So what we're attempting to do is trying to cover some of our costs on the administrative side, the mailing of the letters, the hand-holding, frankly, for those 30 days. The state of Michigan has for several years charged a $75 reopening of an application, and we're looking to establish one at $50 to reopen. It's not something that gets charged to everybody. We think that $50 may encourage them to come in and do so before the expiration date, because if they do so before the expiration date, there is no charge to them. How the application process works and how your expiration date kind of changes on a permit. So you're issued a permit day one, 6 months out, you have an expiration date. You call for an inspection 2 months later, your expiration date gets moved out 6 months from that expiration date. So applications and permits under the law are good for 6 months, provided that you're making continuous progress. It's when you stop making progress over 6 months, you haven't had an inspection, you've done nothing out there, that your permit's going to get expired. So we don't see this hitting very many people, but those that it does hit, I think they'll pay the $50 once, then they'll kind of get it into their mind frame that they better get in and do it so they get it for the $50. And again, we're doing it essentially to cover some of that administrative costs that we have been providing that service for years and not charging for. The last item that I have is very similar to that. This is for fees for a certificate of occupancy and a request for a letter of compliance. We're looking for a $25 fee to be established for a certificate of occupancy and a $20 fee be charged for a letter of compliance. We don't currently issue certificate of occupancies. You final your permit out, you have your final application, it's been finalized, it's been completed, it's been signed off, and it's been gone. When we do issue certificate of occupancies, it's typically a lending institution who needs verification that they're closing out their construction mortgage, you know, and they're moving to their regular mortgage, that they need one and require one from us. Technically, under the law, we're supposed to provide certificate of occupancies for everything across the board. Again, the state of Michigan charges a fee over the years. I think I came to the board in about 2007, making this request, and the board at that time didn't feel that certificate of occupancy was something that we needed to charge for. To continue to do it, we have to charge again for the service. There's more work than just going into a letter with a certificate of occupancy. You have to go and record each one of the permit applications, each one of the permit numbers associated with it, and provide that as completion. The letter of completion tends to come from us, from a homeowner when a contractor, it's a request from a homeowner. When a contractor, we got a pole building that's already built, you're gonna put electrical into it. So the occupancy's already been issued potentially on the building. But we need a letter of compliance, basically saying that the electrical that was installed properly. The homeowner wants it, contractor's done the work, we've signed off on it, given a final, but homeowners are still wanting it. Sometimes a lending institution, if they're taking a loan out for that, wants that as well. So we're gonna have a $20 fee, or requesting a $20 fee for us to produce that letter of compliance for them as well. So those are the changes, 3 modifications and 3 kind of new additions, 3 adjustments and 3 new additions. Again, just all to sort of get us back into an even keel, charging a reasonable fee for the services that we're providing.
Since the solar park in Isabella County is not completed, is that inspected already? Or
So that's a utility and doesn't require permits from us.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so the solar park, from an electrical standpoint, didn't require it. Most of the solar stuff that's happening is residential, and we're seeing a ton of it. And we're seeing a lot of residential, quite a bit of ag as well. They're feeding the barn, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so the utility side
Right.
is exempt from that.
This is just more or less a comment. I really like the end result of the process, which stimulates growth and makes sure they're not just sitting on and doing nothing at all. And so there's incentives and I really like that part of it. Of course, that it's on the price.
Yeah, sure, thank you. We all like that part.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
For walking us through that. And we will move that item to next week's board meeting. And item number 5 is consider approving the State of Michigan Aging and Adult Services Agency multi-year plans and fiscal year 26 annual funding agreements for the foster grandparent and senior companion programs. On behalf of the Isabella County Commission on Aging for the funding for fiscal years 2026 through 2028. Period of October 1st, 2025 to September 30th, 2028, and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. Director Crawford.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So here's just we're renewing our multi-year plan for our foster grandparent senior companion program. And also we have our fiscal year 26 funding agreement with the state for this program to keep this going. Our foster grandparent program, that would entail the foster grandmas and grandpas that you see in our local classrooms and daycare settings, loving on all those kids and providing some assistance to the teachers in the classroom. Our senior companion program, those are, and both programs, they're served by older adult volunteers who also, they have to meet income guidelines to be a part of this program. Our senior companions, they go out into homes and also nursing homes, and they provide friendship and companionship and socialization to those older adults who may not have anybody else that they can lean on for that. So it's such a beneficial program in so many different ways in our community, both of these programs. I just wanted to bring some stats from fiscal year 24. So last year we had 35 foster grandparents. who mentored and loved 144 students, totaling 32,395 hours that they volunteered in our community. Our senior companions, we had 20 of those who worked with 126 clients, serving 14,974 hours, which is incredible with the amount of love that they pour into our community. With this program, I mean, we're very proud of this program, and it's wonderful what it does. And we are concerned, to be honest with you, with the funding. This program falls under AmeriCorps Seniors, which as of right now has really been targeted at the federal level. We do not receive federal funding. We're completely state funded, our program here. But there have been others in our state. There's been one other program that was solely state funded that has been eliminated already in Grand Rapids due to the cuts at the AmeriCorps Senior at the federal level. We're optimistic and we're just very hopeful that that things will pan out for all of the programs here because it is so beneficial in our communities. We're also very fortunate here by having our senior millage, where it allows us some time. So if something does happen at the federal level, it gives us a little bit of time and a cushion to kind of wait and see what happens, and hopefully things would go the other direction anyway if they see the benefit of the program. But I just wanted to say that to you just so that you're aware of the uncertainty. We're excited to be able to continue the program and hopeful that we'll be able to continue with full support. The funding that we do receive from the state, it represents about 69% of the total funding of those two programs. And then we supplement the rest through our 2% funding that we receive, and then also our senior millage. So I do have Brandy Burns here. She's the manager of our foster grandparent senior companion program and does just an incredible job. Same with we have 2 other staff in the program as well. So like I said, very proud of the program, and we're optimistic, and we're going to keep plowing forward with it.
Good. It's good to be optimistic.
Yes.
My mother-in-law did the foster grandparent things. This was a few years ago. She absolutely loved it, and the kids loved her. It's a good relationship for both parties.
Yes.
Benefited greatly from that.
Absolutely.
And the senior companion, really, companionship and social engagement really is one of the strong determinant factors in keeping seniors healthy. Just having that engagement makes a huge difference.
Yes.
Great programs. Yes, sir.
Yeah, like Tobin, my great aunt Trinity Marino, she was a foster grandparent in schools, and she loved it. They loved her. And I think it's such a great program. And I'm also in ACAP too, so we have them too.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, how did it happen that the Commission on Aging has it here rather than a community action program? Some counties do and some counties don't. Is that
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's something that you want to.
Yeah. Some counties do, some, it was just depending on when the notice of funding opportunities came available and the areas that chose to apply for that funding. So ACAP does have it, and they serve Montcalm and Ionia counties and Everett up north. And then we serve the Clear Direction of Bella County. So it just was how it got divided out.
Yeah, I think it's such a great program and really gives more independence too to the people out there that are on their own and so forth.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Administrator Controller Smith and I were at the Volunteer Appreciation Day last Thursday. It's Thursday, right?
Friday.
No,
Friday.
Friday.
Yep.
I don't know any days
Yeah.
anymore. But I'm just gonna say that Brandy did a great community of people there that I got to meet, and had a lot of fun work at the event there. It was quite a special time. It was good to see also that you're getting you had quite a few like starting and 1-year people there to keep the group going. We were able to do that.
Thank you both for coming. It was a
Certainly
lot
it
of
was
fun.
fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I got to wear a sombrero.
He did.
Got to wear what?
A sombrero.
Yes,
Oh.
yeah, it was a Cinco de Mayo theme.
Picture of that?
Yeah.
No, unfortunately, I did not.
Should be on the website. Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that item will move forward. And item number 6, consider approving the payment of Motorola Milestone 9 in the $439,746.80
What
for
timing?
the radio tower project. He just appeared.
I was all ready to go and
I was waiting in the hallway to think that out.
I didn't even see you walk in.
I just walked in. I had an engagement this morning, so I apologize. Just get here.
Oh.
They actually have a senior and they were doing senior awards today presentation, so that's right.
It was perfect timing.
Perfect timing is exactly it. You've seen, 9 of these have come through already. This is one of 2 more to come, a total of 1.3 million. It's still out of the allocations from the state of Michigan that we received. This is the radios, mobiles and portables for all the law enforcement agencies to refresh their radios. So we will see a couple more of those. We had a little bit of hiccup. We were working with the treasurer's office and stuff. And the last bidirectional antennas, getting the reimbursement, we were able to work that through. I think that was DTMB from the state. Just took a little longer than we had seen in the last few times with the 24 to 36 hour turnaround. They assured me that we're good to go and that won't happen again. So I think some of it was their director, deputy director was out of the country, and I just think there was some other pieces there. So shouldn't be any issues with that, but we will see 2 more of these, and that'll leave just under 100,000. Trying to negotiate a little bit with the state on they charge to create the templates in the radios, but typically when you do a project like this, they do that for free. So I'm trying to make sure we can make that happen. And then if that occurs, that additional 100,000 we have allocated for a grant match for the backup center at CMU. So hoping to lock that in here soon.
Yes, sir.
At the last milestone presentation, you indicated that you need to put in some bi-directional antennas for Shepherd Schools and I think one other location.
Yep.
Has that been done and has that cleared up those issues?
So we put a stop pause onto it until we got reimbursed. Because I wasn't going to spend any money until that happened. But so yes, that is underway now. So we have a MOU that was created by our attorneys for Shepherd School signed. I did let the Motorola know, so they let their subcontractors know too. They can start work on that project. We're back and forth with the tribal attorneys and our attorneys just hashing out that language in the MOU, but I think we're real close on that. So once that's signed, Motorola again will get their subcontractors that'll do their school out there, and those 2 facilities will be wrapped up before school starts. I'm hoping in the fall.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. All right, and we will move that final item to next week's meeting, and that'll bring us down to general public comment. Anyone for general public comments? Seeing no one for general public comments, announcements. Commissioners, any announcements?
I'd like to make one. if I
Yes,
can.
absolutely.
Just want to let you guys know, I'm sure you received an email, but the April 15th board meeting minutes will be coming back through to you guys for reapproval next Tuesday. There seemed to have been a problem with the link, and then also with the link, then we caught an error with a motion made. So everything's been fixed, but we still want to do the proper procedure and send them back through to you guys so that you can reapprove them.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other announcements? Yes, sir.
So last week had the DDA, Downtown Development Authority meeting. The group has for Mission and Pickard, a match for like outdoor signage and also combining entrance and exits to businesses so that you have fewer breakups so that pedestrians walking on sidewalks aren't dodging cars every 25 feet. Historically was like a match of 20,000 to 20,000. The DDA has decided to do pay 100% for anyone who wants to combine driveways with another business. And it's up to $60,000. And it is basically there's a set amount of money set for that. I think it's $120,000 but it's $60,000 for each individual thing. And it's a first come, first serve type of situation, approval situation by the city. So, but hoping to, make that Mission corridor safer. Also, there's been some additional for businesses who want to add lighting or trees and things at the 6 feet mark or whatever to make Mission better. That has been added as well. Those are some opportunities for businesses. All you have to do is see the state or not state, city.
Yeah, my announcement is the spring legislative breakfast. It's from the chamber. It's going to be the 16th at 7:15 at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. And it's a legislative breakfast, so the chief will be there, mayor will probably be there, county commissioners I hope will be there, state reps, state senators, and I was told US rep too. I won't hold my breath, but I'll definitely be there and asking questions, the hard questions.
The 16th?
Yeah,
What's the
16th.
date on that?
Yeah, 7:15. It's Friday, I believe. 3 days.
Okay. Any other announcements? Okay, hearing no other announcements, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.